Hey guys, let's get more news from Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. First call, Steelers minority ownership movement, ILB's interview with team at Combine, Mason Rudolph's future. The Pittsburgh Steelers ownership structure is getting shuffled. The franchise is talking to lots of linebackers at the NFL Scouting Combine. There's more conversation about Mason Rudolph's future and that of former Pitt star Aaron Donald as well. All that in Thursday's first call. The long-discussed sale of minority ownership within the Steelers may finally be coming to a head. Bloomberg is reporting that Josh Harris and David Blitzer are in advanced talks to sell their minority stake in the Pittsburgh Steelers to an existing investor group led by Art Rooney II and Thomas Tull. Harris and Blitzer have had a minority stake, less than 5%, in the team since 2020. Harris acquired the Washington Commanders for $6 billion last year. By NFL rules, he must sell his stake in the Steelers since he can't be an owner with two franchises at once. Representatives for Tull, Rooney, the Steelers, and the NFL didn't immediately respond to Bloomberg for comment. The financial news agency reported a year ago that Tull has been looking to extend his stake in the team. He has been a co-owner since 2009. The Rooney family has been the principal owners of the franchise since 1933. Sources tell Bloomberg that the transaction may be finalized in the coming months. The NFL would have to approve it first. Harris is a co-founder of Apollo Global Management. He and Blitzer, an executive with the Blackstone Group, have bought pieces of the Philadelphia 76ers, New Jersey Devils and Crystal Palace Football Club. At least one national reporter sounds a bit dubious of Mason Rudolph returning to Pittsburgh. It's Mike Garafolo of the NFL Network's The Insiders. He says Rudolph's late surge at the end of 2023 may open doors beyond those at Acrisure Stadium. My understanding is that the door is not closed on Mason Rudolph possibly returning to Pittsburgh, Garafolo said via SteelersNow.com. But they do expect, his camp does expect, that there will be opportunities elsewhere, potentially for him. Particularly because he did play well in spot starts down the stretch. That jibes with what I wrote Wednesday morning, warning fans that an ESPN report stating that Rudolph is likely to re-sign with the Steelers may be a bit too optimistic. I think a 50-50 chance of a return is a more accurate characterization. Rudolph won the last 3 games as the Steelers' starting quarterback, posting a 74% completion percentage, a 120 passer rating, 10.8 yards per pass attempt, and a touchdown-to-interception ratio of 3:00. A few names are emerging from the NFL Combine in Indianapolis as potential draftees who have met with the Steelers. According to Triblade's Joe Rutter on Wednesday, Texas A&M linebacker Ajaron Cooper, Clemson LB Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and Michigan LB Jr. Colson have all met with Steelers reps at the event. Kansas edge rusher Austin Booker reportedly has as well. All Aggies at Fan Nation says Cooper met with the Steelers and Dallas Cowboys. He is 6'2", 220 pounds, and is described as a 3-down off-the-ball linebacker. He totaled 83 tackles, 17 for loss, 8 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries last season with the Aggies. ESPN.com projects him as the best inside linebacker on its board. Pittsburgh Steelers owner Art Rooney II, fried by players on NFLPA report card. The annual survey put on by the NFL Players Association on working conditions for each of the league's 32 teams has been released. Some of the results are shocking. Chief among those is the incredibly low grade given to the ownership of the Pittsburgh Steelers, led by Art Rooney II. The Rooney family has owned the franchise since the start of the team in 1933, and had been considered one of the best ownership groups in the league. Needless to say, that's not the case any longer. The Rooneys were given an astonishing F grade. That has to be a shock to the Pittsburgh Steelers ecosystem. It's a franchise that has prided itself on having great ownership throughout the years. Along with that, it was known as a family atmosphere around the league. That's clearly not the case now. Other than the grade for longtime head coach Mike Tomlin, the franchise was not viewed positively by the players on the team. An F when it comes to treatments of families is truly miserable. Here's some more information on that grade. Yeah, those are very understandable complaints from Steelers players. Simply put, those are things that have to be taken care of for a franchise worth around $5 billion. As for ownership, players are frustrated with what they perceive to be lackluster facilities and training opportunities. Overall, investments need to be made to address these concerns. The issue lies in the fact that they share a team facility with the Pitt Panthers in a very crowded neighborhood in Pittsburgh. There simply isn't much, if any, room to expand down there. The Steelers are going to have to possibly move a new facility away from the south side of the city in order to give their players the modern amenities they want. Ultimately, not a good day for the Rooney family, and it will be interesting how the Steelers respond. Steelers insider turns heads with QB Justin Fields' argument. It's difficult to find a national NFL analyst who hasn't proposed the idea that the Pittsburgh Steelers should trade for Chicago Bears quarterback Justin Fields this offseason. But local Steelers insiders such as the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette's Jerry Dulac have been more neutral to the idea. On February 28, Dulac crossed over onto the side against the Steelers, potentially trading for Fields. Dulac cited the team's faith in Kenny Pickett, the desire to re-sign Mason Rudolph and Fields' win-loss record as 3 reasons why a trade for Fields doesn't make sense for Pittsburgh. That argument received a lot of reaction on social media. 2 of the 3 reasons are about Kenny and Mason, P_Ru20 wrote on X with laughing emojis. They're the reason the Steelers need a higher ceiling option at QB. Quite a few X users agreed, taking exception with Pickett and Rudolph being reasons the Steelers shouldn't target Fields in a blockbuster trade. No offense, but those are lousy reasons, Johnny Utah wrote. Fields might not be the answer, but it's only 2-year commitment, and the other 2 ain't it. Sean Seegers added that Pickett is clearly not the answer. He also argued that the Steelers won't need Rudolph if they trade for Fields. Fields is clearly more talented than anyone they've had since Ben's penultimate season, wrote Seegers. A lot of Steelers fans will disagree with Dulac's top 2 reasons for the Steelers not to trade for Fields. But based on what the Steelers have said publicly about their quarterbacks this offseason, it's very reasonable to believe that they don't want to give up on Pickett and desire to re-sign Rudolph. Team president Art Rooney too said as much during his press briefing on January 29. We still feel good about Kenny Pickett and his future, but he knows he has to work hard to take the next step, Steelers president Art Rooney too said on January 29, via Steelers.com's Bob Labriola. Mason Rudolph came in and showed what we're capable of when we do get quality QB play, and we're interested in bringing Mason back. On February 6, Rooney said the organization is not closing the door on anything when asked about the possibility of trading for a quarterback. However, a day later, Rooney clarified that a blockbuster trade for a big-name signal caller was unlikely. There's another obvious reason the Steelers aren't a great fit for Fields' money. Fields will have just a $6 million cap hit in 2024, but his team will have to decide by May whether to pick up his 5th-year option. If it costs the Steelers a second-round pick and additional draft capital to acquire Fields, they will have to pick up his 5th-year option to make him a worthwhile investment. That means the Steelers will be agreeing to pay Fields more than $25 million total for the 2024 and 2025 seasons before he ever appears in a black and gold jersey. There's plenty of reasons to argue a Fields trade is not a fit for the Steelers. But really, a reason to trade for him could outweigh all of them, Fields' upside. NFL teams move heaven and earth to land franchise quarterbacks nowadays. That's because it's very difficult to win in the league without them. If the Steelers believe Fields is a future franchise quarterback with more upside than Pickett, then it shouldn't matter the cost to acquire him. Possessing a cornerstone behind center is priceless. The question, though, is whether the Steelers believe that about Fields or don't think it about Pickett. At the very least, the latter does not appear to be the case. Fields is tremendously athletic. He has thrown 40 touchdowns while averaging 7 yards per pass. He's also posted 6.2 yards per carry and 14 rushing scores in 40 NFL contests. But he is 10-28 as a starter. Like Mitch Trubisky, Fields is damaged good, John Babjack wrote on X. They come from a team that knows how to lose. Pickett has thrown just 13 touchdowns with 13 interceptions and a 6.3 yards per attempt average in 25 NFL games. But he is 14-10 as a starter. And you fan, what do you think of the Justin Fields situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.